crafty friends, it's me, Justine DeWork from Stationery by Justine, where when I craft my world stands still. I'm over here on the Pajama Crafter Stamps YouTube channel today to make a really fun little bird card. I am so excited to show you how I made this card. It turns out super cute in the end. So what I'm going to do first is take a piece of pattern paper that I've had in my stash for forever and a day and die cut out with 2 nesting dies. And if you were going to recreate this, you can use any old rectangle die that you have in your stash, or you could choose anything that has 2 flat edges. You might see the stack of birds I have on the top left there. They are going to be on my panel in a very cute way. So now I have my frame and my solid rectangle. The reason why I did pattern paper was for a fun and unique background. You can see how I can turn it and have it be in line with the frame or not in line with the frame. It just gives a different look. But in the end, I do choose to keep it in line with the frame. This is also a great way to make shaker cards, is to make this little frame, and that can be the shaker window, like the panel part of your shaker. So it's just a really easy way to make your pieces work together. So these birds, I'm just going to mention, these birds are from Pajama Crafter Stamps. Hello, I'm on their channel, so of course it is. And the birds are from the stamp set called Birds of a Feather. They are such a cute stamp set. You see the 2 main birds I have in the middle there. I have them on camera just because I had to show you. They're just so cute not to show. But the birds that I'm using on this card today are the 3 panels over there. And now I could just put them on simply, but we're going to make it funky and fun, so I hope you like it. Now I'm going to put my frame with some foam just to pop it up and give a little bit of extra interest. It isn't adding, I'm not adding like a shaker or acetate window. This is just a frame to keep all my little images together. I like to use foam strips because they are cheap and nice and little. So if I need to pop up a sentiment or I'm popping up something skinny like this, the skinny foam is kind of the way to go. So I actually stamped and heat embossed my birds all with watercolor paper. If you have been on my channel, which is Stationery by Justine at all, you know that I love is not even like a good word. I am obsessed, but trying to teach myself, but also obsessed with watercoloring and just trying to get better at it. And the only way to get better at something is to practice. So I've been using watercolors, whether it's the pencils or a palette, a lot recently, and I think that these birds are going to be so cute watercolored, and they end up being just so adorable. My frame, I just put on some coordinating purple cardstock. Now for the fun part, to lay out my birds. You see that several of them are hanging off the edge, and that is a-okay, because we're going to use the pieces that I chop off and make new little lines of birds. So there's my first set, and see that whole bird on the right is completely off my panel. But I'll use my pieces, don't worry. Now the liquid glue works really well with my watercolor paper. Originally, my plan for this card was to leave the birds white, which is kind of unorthodox, but I was thinking artsy-fartsy and letting the stamps just be. Although they look so cute with some color on them, they need a little life. They're just so adorable that I could not just leave them white for whatever reason, but that was the plan, just being really frank with you. But sometimes you have to take your idea of what you want for your card or your project and then pivot and make it something better. Oh, I hated cutting that bird in half because he is just such a cutie pie, but it's okay. I can always stamp more. Now, I did also want to mention I cut all my stamps out with my Scan and Cut. So that is a really great option if you ever get a stamp set and you don't want to buy a whole bunch of dies. Typically, coordinating dies are usually a little more expensive than the stamp set itself, and they really just are useless without the stamps. So I prefer to spend money on the stamps themselves and then just use my Scan and Cut. And then if there is like a shape die or a standalone die or a word die, of course, I don't think those are a waste of money at all, but I just think for me personally, I'm not really wanting to buy a ton of coordinating dies that go with stamps just because why when I spent money on my Scan and Cut, and my Scan and Cut is kind of big, but it doesn't take up a million inches like a bunch of dies do. All right, I'm off my soapbox now. My birds are all set on my panel. Those two little ones at the top are kind of watching me craft. They're going to be used on another card, so you will definitely see them either on this channel or on my channel, Stationery by Justine. And yes, at this point of my card making, I still was all gung-ho for leaving these birds completely white. And I even thought about adding these on, but they're okay. They're okay not being on there, and these little birds are so fun all by themselves. It reminds me of a short little video that came out early 2000s from Pixar with the birds on the line. If you know what I'm talking about, comment below. I think that would be so fun to make that connection together here today. Now I grabbed a piece of my blue cardstock. This was just some cardstock I had laying around in my craft room earlier this year when I was making more videos. Well, not more, but just making videos for this channel, the Pajama Crafter Stamps channel. I challenged people to use some of the stuff that they have in their craft room already and to shop their stash. So if you saw some of those early videos from this year, 2025, in maybe January time, let me know. Have you taken me up on that challenge? Have you gone to your craft room, used up some of your supplies, and made beautiful things? I want to know. Call it nosy, call it whatever you want, but I'm curious. Now I'm just adding this little embellishment, or not really embellishment, a sentiment strip. This is just from my stash as well. And I did leave the foam off the part where it's touching the frame because I don't want it to get bumpy around the frame, and I want everything to sit nice and level. And at this point, I decide that yes, I'm going to add color to my birds because they need some beautiful life into their cuteness. And I'm going to use my watercolor pencils from Distress and Tim Holtz. Now, these coordinate with the oxide and ink colors from them, so I do really like these, and they're very easy to use. I'm just coloring on the spots where the artist has taken the stamp and either going in like the shaded dark parts where there would be a shadow, or going to color on the parts where the artist chose to make a little line of maybe like a ruffle in a feather, and that's really it. I'm using the color Salty Ocean, which is a really bright, brilliant blue, and when the water reacts with this, it just is so pretty. So I'm going to color basically every bird the exact same, and there will be quite a lot of white space left on the birds because this is just kind of like a splash of color, a splash of life onto the birds. It's not to be a artful, detailed, intense watercolor. And that is what I love doing, just having fun with my craft supplies. And I will be definitely pulling from my watercolors more often with Pajama Crafter stamps because they are super duper cute and I just love them. Now I'm taking I think it's something pumpkin, if I remember correctly. Nope. Spiced marmalade. And putting just a dot of orange on each of the beaks. And this really is just to bring, more life back into every bird. Not just have them too dark and too stark white. Then I'll take 1 pump of a water. My water needs to be refilled. Let's get real close for this. Now that we're nice and close, you can see I am adding water directly onto the spots where the pencil is on the image and just letting kind of a big pool of water just sit on where there is color and just let the watercolor paper and the water do their thing and mix and just settle in. Every once in a while I will re-wet my brush, but I don't have to wash off my brush too often because I'm just adding water to the color. So it's very, very simple coloring here. Again, I'm leaving quite a lot of white space. I'm assuming the sun would be shining on these little birdies, so there would be a bit of a shadow down below. But you can see how fast it is to make really beautiful shades with watercolors. This part of the video is sped up to 1.75 speed, so it is just barely sped up, and you can see how fast that was to color. So let me know your thoughts on this card in the comments as I finish up here. And I would just like to invite you to join the Pajama Crafter Stamps Facebook group. I will have that linked in the description of this video. It's a fun place to find more inspiration from these fabulous products. So we will see you in my next video over here on the Pajama Crafter Stamps channel. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful time crafting in your own craft room. And we'll see you next time, crafty friend. Bye-bye.